Alrighty, well, hello and welcome to today's wellness webinar. My name's Anna Miller and I'm the Wellbeing Program Manager with the Healthier Together team. And then I also manage the on-site wellness centers that we have in Minnesota. I'm joined by Isaac today and we will be going over let's get more physical. So going beyond exercise basics, and we will be breaking down the daily recommendations, weekly recommendations for exercise, and then going a little more depth into some common myths, some frequently asked questions that we get around physical activity. And then we'll have time at the end for you to ask your own questions, some myths that you heard, and see if we can answer your questions today. Before we get into today's content, just a quick few housekeeping items. A reminder that today's webinar is recorded. We send the slide deck and the recording to all attendees. So if you have to leave early, don't worry. We'll be sending the recording out. And we also share the recording to our YouTube channel, and then we post it to Yammer as well. So you have plenty of opportunities to find the slide deck and the recording. And then if you have any questions throughout, the chat will be your friend. So use the chat and ask any question you have. If it's related to today's topic, if it's unrelated, anything about wellness, we're happy to answer those questions for you. And if you're also just attending, feel free to chime in the chat. And if you have any tips or tricks of things that work for you, please share those as well. Another reminder that Healthier Together is a free resource open to all employees. So no matter if you've been at Medtronic for 1 year, 10 years, 20 years, you have access to Healthier Together. It's the Virgin Pulse platform where you can sync a device, you can track your steps, you can track healthy habits, and then you can also learn about everything health and wellness that's available to you as an employee. So the steps to sign up are in the slide deck. So feel free afterwards to register if you haven't already. Like I said, it's free and it's an incredible resource that's available to you. Once again, before we get into today's topic, we will do a brief poll question. We chose today's content because it's a frequently kind of asked topic that we get a lot of questions on. And a lot of people want to know how to get the best out of their workout, how they can make the best use of their time, and so many other exercise questions. So today we'll outline those basics and make sure everyone is on the same page when it comes to the recommendations. And then Isaac and I will go over some more common myths, tell you the truths behind those myths. So let's get into the poll. In front of you, you'll see a question here. Now this is just the Americans, those in the US, but feel free to still answer regardless of where you're calling in from. So what percentage of Americans meet the weekly recommendations for physical activity? So take your best guess. Try not to hop on Google. Just take your best guess, see what you got. We have about half participated, so take a little bit longer. So what percentage meet the weekly recommendations? All righty, I'll end this here, share the results with everybody. Everyone did a pretty good job here. 23% of Americans meet the weekly recommendations for physical activity. Now that is not a lot. Only 23% meet the recommendations. Now, if you expand it more globally, more than a quarter of all adults are not meeting the recommendation. So it's about 26% globally are not meeting the recommendations. And a few of the common barriers that people cite when that's stopping them from exercising is lack of time, lack of money, maybe bad weather or extreme weather, and lack of access to equipment or facilities. So hopefully we'll help you kind of bridge that gap. Maybe you are a regular exerciser and you meet your recommendations every week, or maybe you are pretty inactive at the moment and you're looking for ways to add more activity in. So hopefully you'll be able to find some tips and tricks today. So the recommendations that we will be sharing today are from the American College of Sports Medicine. It's pretty standard globally that the recommendations are roughly the same. They don't differ too much or anything drastic. So no matter where you are, these recommendations will apply to you. So we'll first go over aerobic exercise, define what aerobic exercise is, go over the recommendations, and then the benefits. So aerobic exercise. Aerobic means with oxygen. So your breathing and your heart rate will increase. Aerobic exercises involve large muscle groups, and they're typically performed in a rhythmic movement, such as walking, hiking, jogging, swimming, cycling, rowing, any other sort of activity like that. It's typically the rhythmic movements are aerobic activities. Performing those aerobic exercises overall will help improve your cardiovascular system. Now, some other examples of aerobic workouts could be any cardio classes, stair stepper, walking, anything like that, or activities with long work periods. So if you're doing 2 to 3 minutes of work with not very much rest, that would be more of an aerobic activity, something that you can sustain for a long period of time. Now, the recommendations per week: 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise or 75 minutes of vigorous intensity exercise. So an easy way, if you don't really care to calculate your max heart rate or anything like that, I like to think of the talk test is a great way to measure intensity. So say you're doing a light jog, walking on a treadmill, and if you could be talking to somebody that is with you, obviously it's a little tough. You're maybe not going to be able to talk at the normal level and intensity that you normally do, but if you can still hold a conversation with them, that is sort of moderate intensity. They like to call it breathy, or you're breathing a little heavy, but you can still hold a conversation. And then vigorous intensity is, you're breathing pretty heavy. You're not necessarily completely out of breath, gassed within 2 minutes, but you're definitely working at a higher intensity, above 60% of your max heart rate, and that would be kind of tough to hold a conversation. A combination of moderate and vigorous is what's recommended, something to not only keep it exciting for yourself, but to stress the body in different ways. Now, if you think about that 150 minutes over the whole week, that is less than 22 minutes per day. Now, think about everything that you do throughout your day that is around 20 minutes. For me, that's my commute into work. So that's just a short amount of time that I could be adding into my day to meet the recommendations. Only 22 minutes. That's not even a full episode of a show nowadays. Some benefits of aerobic training would be decreased risk of developing cardiovascular disease. You can decrease your blood pressure, your resting heart rate. It also is great to assist in weight management and energy balance. We'll go into that a little later. And then increasing your strength, endurance, flexibility, mobility. All of this regular aerobic training can help improve circulation and can help with weight management by burning calories more efficiently. So now looking at resistance training. Resistance training is exercises that take on a form of weightlifting, and they involve all muscle groups. So basically any exercise that causes the muscles to contract against an external resistance. Now that external resistance could be gravity. You could be doing body weight strength training exercises, or you could have a resistance band, or you could be loaded under some sort of weight like a dumbbell, a barbell, or using a cable machine, strength machines, anything like that. This exercises the muscular system, and it's important for well-rounded fitness. When performed correctly, resistance training can improve your muscular strength, your power, and your bone health. So what are the recommendations? 30 to 60 minutes, 2 to 3 times per week. And just a general rep scheme that is recommended to typically follow is somewhere around 8 to 12 reps of an exercise and 2 to 4 sets per muscle group. So say you do bicep curls, for example, you want to do 8 to 12 reps of those bicep curls, rest for 1 minute to 2 minutes, and then repeat that 2 or 3 more times. So resistance training can include those multi-joint compound movements, such as squats or push-ups. And for general health, each muscle group should be trained roughly 2 to 3 times per week. Now, something to keep in mind is that a lot of strength training that the general population does can also be aerobic inducing, activity. If I were to do a body weight kind of strength circuit, that's not only benefiting my resistance training, it's also benefiting my aerobic capacity as well. So it doesn't have to always be your 150 for aerobic plus all of these other minutes for resistance training. Sometimes they do overlap and mix with each other, but generally these are the recommendations that you want to meet. Looking at the benefits of resistance training, you can improve your muscle strength and size. A reduced risk of falls is really important with core strength and stability. And it can also assist in weight management. And then you can increase your strength, endurance, flexibility, mobility. All the same benefits of aerobic exercise, but with the addition of improving your bone health, improving your muscle strength and size, and a little more flexibility and mobility. Another great component that we want to add in that's sometimes forgotten on a lot of people's exercise programs is stretching. So stretching is placing different parts of your body into a position that will lengthen or elongate the muscles and your associated soft tissues. Just like aerobic and resistance training, stretching is a form of physical exercise. It's a deliberate, moving the body part through a deliberate range of motion to release tension. Stretching exercises should only be performed to your range of motion limit. So you never want to pull yourself past that point of tension where you're feeling, just gently challenging yourself to where you feel that stretch. Some recommendations for stretching before and after exercise. And then we also threw in 2 to 3 times a day. We hear from all of you employees that join in our flex breaks, how great it makes you feel. It's not only a physical break, but it's also a mental break, a time to refresh. Now, when looking at exercise, before exercise, you want dynamic stretching. So these are movements that involve large range of motion, lots of muscle groups. So you can think of leg swings, lunges with arm reaches, neck circles, high knees, that sort of movement. And then any activity specific movement. So say you're doing strength training and you're doing a lot of squats in your today's lift. So in your warm up and your dynamic stretches, you want to do movements that help you get your hip flexion, warm up your legs, doing squats, lunges, leg swings, that sort of thing. Or if you're going on a run, you want to do some more dynamic calf stretches, lunges, again, those sort of idea. Then after exercise, static stretching is typically the most common technique. So you're holding a stretch for 15 to 60 seconds or so. An example would be maybe like a shoulder stretch or holding a quad stretch, grabbing onto your foot to stretch your quad. So those sort of stretching techniques are most beneficial after exercise. And then a review of those benefits just to maintain your mobility, range of motion, and reducing your risk of injury. And it can help improve your muscle function and, once again, a physical and mental pause throughout your day. Stretching can help maintain your current range of motion and can also improve it if done regularly. Here are some opportunities that we've selected out for you that you can engage with stretching each week. So you can join in the live flex breaks. You can follow along. We have a whole library of on-demand stretching videos that you can watch. And you can also request myself, Kyle, or Isaac to join in on any of your team meetings. If you're in Minnesota, if you're at headquarters, Rice Creek or Mountain View, we can come to your cubes, come to your area in the building, and we can help stretch you. Or if you're globally or outside of, the Twin Cities in Minnesota, we can join in your meeting via Zoom, Teams, whatever you have set up, and lead a stretch, lead a meditation, anything like that. As we move forward, please throw any questions you have into the chat. That was just a basic review of those recommendations, so everyone's on the same page. And I'll turn it over to Isaac to go into some exercise myths.
Okay, everyone. Well, thank you for coming. My name is Isaac. I'm a well-being specialist with Medtronic and Healthier Together. So let's debunk some exercise myths. We put together some common myths that we hear a lot. We would like to share these with you so you can feel more confident in how to reach your exercise goals and to help spread the word of these myths. Let's stop the misinformation. So for each myth, I'll share the myth itself, why it's a myth, and what to do instead. So the number one myth, or the myth number one that we're going to talk about, more cardio means you'll lose more fat. Oh man, it's all those hours on the treadmill, all the elliptical, trying to lose that body fat. Well, we're going to show you what to do instead. So let's break this down a little. Overall, cardiovascular centered or aerobic exercise, like Anna mentioned, is great for your physical, is a great physical activity for your heart, lung, and brain health. If this is something you truly enjoy and is sustainable for your life, then by all means continue with them. Any form of physical activity is always going to be better than no form of physical activity. But if you're looking to cut down your body fat, then cardio alone is not going to help you with your goal. The issue with only doing low to moderate continuous cardio is that once you're done with your workout, your body doesn't continue to burn calories at an accelerated rate like other forms of exercise. A term that we say is excessive post-exercise oxygen consumption, or EPOC, is the result of an elevation in oxygen consumption and metabolism, which occurs after exercise as the body recovers, repairs, and returns to its pre-existing state. A lot of calories are burned from certain forms of exercise after the exercise itself. And this can happen up to 24 hours. So in getting what to do, research has shown that one of the most effective forms of exercise that can help boost your EPOC is high intensity interval training, or commonly known as HIIT. Interval training allows the body to increase its resting metabolic rate hours after exercising, burning a lot more calories in the process, and in turn, decreasing that body fat and increasing your muscle mass. In some studies, HIIT has shown to be 25% more effective in decreasing body fat than continuous cardio. I have provided an example of a HIIT workout for your reference. Interval training always involves the formula of a period of work followed by a time of rest. And if you would like more examples of HIIT, our Healthier Together YouTube channel provides many interval training style workouts that you can follow right along to. Another quick benefit with the HIIT is that a lot of times, a lot of the studies are based on 2 to 3 times a week. So you can get these full benefits from HIIT by decreasing your exercise time and your with the same or even better amounts of like long endurance cardio type workouts. So overall, HIIT is going to help with your body fat percentage and overall body composition. This means that you may not necessarily lose weight because you're gaining some muscle in the process, but you will be creating a leaner looking, overall stronger and healthier individual. This concept leads right into our next myth, and that is lifting weights will bulk me up. And just a side note, I really wanted to put a picture of a bodybuilder on this slide, but I couldn't find one that didn't leave me with a lasting scarring image. So you're welcome to all of you for not sharing that with you, for sparing you of this. And sorry for offending any bodybuilders that might be attending this webinar. Anyway, this question, will lifting weights bulk me up, is the most frequent question I get during fitness consultations. Simply put, you will not get bulky muscles like bodybuilders if you start to lift weights. You will get more strength, improved body composition, higher metabolism, greater bone density, reduced risk of injury, and some muscular definition, but not bulky muscles. Bodybuilders and power lifters follow very strict protocols and diet plans that allow them to look the way they do and lift the massive amounts of weights they can lift. It's a full-time job for them. And another detail that I believe is worth sharing is, if you are a female and are worried about becoming bulky from weight training, it is even more difficult to gain that style of muscle due to the lower levels of the hormone testosterone. Testosterone is much more present in men and is the major contributor to muscle growth. So for the question of what to do, the main takeaway is go ahead and include strength training into your exercise routine, because it's going to help you with accomplishing your goals of losing fat and improving your body composition. And if you're, let's say, also with like the combination of strength and cardio, that is also like, let's say you don't want to do your HIIT routine and you really like your cardio, but hey, I'll throw in a few dumbbell curls and squats into my routine each day. That is also going to help with that term that we talked about, the EPOC, and helping you burn more calories at rest after your workout. So now I'd like to turn it back over to Anna, and she'll give you a few more exercise myths that we can put to the grave.
And Isaac, we had a question here too. Does strength training also help in increasing EPOC? And do you want to answer that? Do you want me to take it?
If you have an answer right now, then go for it. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say that any sort, and like you were mentioning at the end, any sort of exercise that you're consuming more oxygen than normal it takes time for your body to get back to its normal levels to continue burning those calories. So strength training will also help in increasing EPOC, from what I remember.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's the whole thing of like your body is recovering, so therefore it's building that muscle, or it's like working even though you're not like exercising at that time.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So
perfect. And any other questions, please continue to throw them in the chat. And if we can't answer them today, we can only remember so much at one time too. So if there's something that we just don't know quite the correct answer, we'll definitely look into it more and get back to everybody, and we'll send out a recap if necessary. So a few other myths here, something that I hear commonly, or that when I'm talking to friends or family, they say, oh, should I always be working out in the fat burning zone? Or I've seen articles that say, make sure you're always doing your cardio in the fat burning zone. Now, the fat burning zone has an awesome ring to it. It sounds so nice. You're like, oh man, yes, I love to burn this fat. That's all I'm going to do to burn fat. This links partially into what Isaac was talking about before, is having a mixture of those exercises, including weight training. All of that leads to having a more well-rounded fitness level. Now, many cardio machines that you may have seen have different graphs that say you're in the fat burning zone, depending on your heart rate, whatever it may be. Using this function on those cardio machines keeps you working at a slower, steady pace. And this lower intensity form of exercise is thought to help your body burn a higher percentage of calories from fat. Now, the problem is this total number of calories, the total number of calories burned is what's important, not necessarily what type of calories, because that's not really a thing. So you're trying to ultimately, depending on what your goals are, trying to find an accurate representation of how many calories you are burning. Lower steady state intensity exercise is awesome and important in improving your overall cardiovascular fitness. If you like to go on long runs, if you like to cycle during meetings, if you get the chance, those sorts of activities are super important. So I want to make sure that you're understanding where we're coming from when we're talking about these myths. It's just, these are the few of the common ones that we hear. So a common myth around the idea of calorie burn or heart rate and so much more. So let's break down how you burn calories and how you estimate your caloric burn, because depending on what your goals are, this may mean nothing to you, or it may mean a lot to you, depending on how you're using the calories burned throughout your day-to-day life. So there are a few different ways that you can measure your total energy expenditure. A lot of big words, or words that you may hear frequently: resting metabolic rate, also known as basal metabolic rate. Basically, this is the amount of energy your body needs to maintain basic functions like breathing, circulating our blood, building cells. Things like your body size, gender, age, all affect your resting metabolic rate. I remember in college, I was on a rowing team, and my best friend was about 110 pounds, and I was about 210 pounds, and we were consuming the same amount of calories roughly. And she was seeing all these great improvements in her fitness and training level, and I was seeing no gains whatsoever in my fitness overall. And I was so frustrated. I'm like, gosh, I'm eating just the same as she is. She's getting stronger, and here I was staying the same, and I really was kind of losing my strength because I wasn't fueling my body enough, because I was comparing her caloric intake at it being 110 pounds, 5'4", to me being 5'11", 6 foot with my 210 pound self. So it's important to take a look at your resting metabolic rate. A lot of people compare the amount of food that they eat or the amount of activity that they do to their spouses, their family members, and you could be completely different genders, different sizes, and that's just something to consider when you're trying to determine what your goals will be. Another component of your energy expenditure throughout the day is non-exercise activity thermogenesis, otherwise known as NEAT. So this is the amount of energy that your body uses to do daily activities, such as, typing on a computer, walking around the office, walking to the car, those sorts of things. Then you have the thermic effect of feeding or food. And this is the amount of calories that are burned while you chew, digest, and store food. TEF accounts for about 10% of the total number of calories you burn each day. So 10% of those calories is your body just digesting the food that you're eating. And then you also have the calories that are burned during exercise. So this is during typical planned physical activity, but it could also be calories burned if you have a more physical job, physical workload, if you're standing all day, if you're lifting boxes, that sort of thing also plays into the calories burned. So these are just a few things to keep in mind. These are all the different ways that your body burns calories. So I included a formula here. If you're interested, there's a ton of online calculators that can help you determine your resting metabolic rate. And it's just kind of interesting to see how many calories that you burn. So for me, with my current weight, height, age, all of that, my basal metabolic rate is around 1,300 calories. So that's how many I need to simply stay functioning at rest. Now, being in the physical activity wellness realm, I have a pretty active lifestyle. I get around 12,000 steps a day, and I exercise almost every day. So that's just something I have to keep in mind when I'm determining how much I'm going to fuel and what sort of intensity workouts I'll be doing. Now, there's so many other factors that influence our caloric burn throughout the day. Like I mentioned, age, genetic predisposition, gender, muscle mass, and all of that. Now, with today's technology, there are a variety of other ways that we can receive feedback about our energy expenditure. So we can get the estimated burn from the cardio machines. Maybe an exercise program says you'll burn this many calories doing this workout. Or if you have some sort of smart watch, depending if you put in your heart rate, anything like that, it tells you how many calories that you're burning. So these may not be the most accurate because it's not taking into consideration all the different factors that go into the rate that you're going to be burning calories. So it's not necessarily, if you're looking to be super specific with your calories in, calories out, and you're looking to do more bodybuilding, if you're trying to, cut all sorts of things like that, then it's a little more important to get super specific with your energy expenditure. But if you're just looking to see your exercise intensity from today compared to the same workout the next week, if you're using the same watch, it's going to be roughly the same calorie burn estimate. If you're using the same treadmill this week, next week, the week after, those estimated calories burned for you will be roughly the correct amount for the next time too. So it's great to compare your intensity and your activity overall. But if you want to get super specific, just make sure that you are finding more reliable methods of testing your energy expenditure, maybe doing some sort of metabolic testing, which is possible. It's just a little more spendy. And then maybe investing in a more reliable heart rate monitor, something like that. And there are a ton of online calculators out there. You can do find my basal metabolic rate. And there's 10 different websites that all use basically this formula where you enter in your height, your weight, all of that. Now, I forgot to plug in my computer and I got my notification that it's going to die. So I'm going to quickly grab my computer cord so we don't lose the Zoom meeting. I'll be back in a jiff. Isaac, if you could answer any questions or comments, I'll be. All right. So sorry about that. Back in a jiff, I got really nervous all of a sudden that we would lose the Zoom. All right. So the last myth here is, well, I have two more. If you're not sweating, you're not trying. Now, this is a really common thing that I hear a lot of people say is, oh, they're not working out super hard, they're not sweating. Or you think to yourself, man, I must not be working out very hard, I'm not sweating a lot. So each person sweats at different levels, depending on a variety of factors, your core body temperature, your body's ability to cool down, and so many other medical factors and conditions. Sweating is an important aspect of cooling your body down. So depending on all those factors, you may be sweating a lot, you may not be. The important thing is just to hydrate and to be aware of the environment that you're in to best protect your body and to keep it fueled enough to exercise. So it's not necessarily an indicator of exertion or the energy that you're expending. Lastly, one of the most common ones that I hear all the time is no pain, no gain. Or, man, I'm not sore today from my workout, so I guess it's not even worth it. I must not have worked out hard enough. Now, if you are feeling so extremely sore after every single workout you do, that's a sign of a few things. The first, you could just be, normal muscle soreness is a sign that, you were just working those muscles in new ways. But if it's every single workout you've ever done, you're feeling super sore, that could be a sign of that you're not warming up or cooling down adequately and stretching enough throughout the day to, kind of eliminate the soreness. So delayed onset muscle soreness is super common when new movements are introduced to the body. And as long as it's just a little sore, that's okay. But that doesn't necessarily mean it was the best, greatest workout that you've ever done, and you have to feel that sore every time for it to be effective. As you get familiar with certain movements, as you continue to load the body, giving more weight, doing more reps, longer duration, more intensity, it's okay if you're not feeling super sore. And it's probably a good thing that your body is adapting and is building that strength without, you feeling the effects afterwards. So the most common cause of that extreme soreness is lack of a proper warm up. Like I said, warming up for 10 to 15 minutes is so important. Doing those dynamic stretches, those workout specific movements, that's the kind of biggest cause is people, if they're doing heavy squats and they don't do a single squat in their warm up, most likely that first time you're loaded under some tension, some weight, you're going to hurt yourself because you're not adequately warmed up. So finding ways to make sure you're warmed up properly, and that will be the biggest contributor to not feeling terribly in pain the next day. So now that we've gone through all of these different myths, the exercise recommendations, what do you do with that now? So how can you move forward and put this knowledge into action? So there's a few different steps to consider moving forward. The first is to assess your current goals and your preconceived notions of exercise and your habits. So is anything that we talked about today, is that kind of influence how you've been exercising? Does that influence the habits you may have developed? And is it necessary for you to make any adjustments? If you're getting by just fine with your current exercise routine, and maybe you're only doing, one sort of thing, and that is working for you, then perfectly fine. Go ahead and stick with that. If there is something that you're like, maybe I could try to implement some more strength training, or maybe I want to try to do a little more low intensity cardio, this is a perfect time to choose one item in your routine that you'll adjust to help you to get closer to whatever goal you're working towards. And then find consistency in your new routine. After you make that adjustment, give yourself the time to find that consistency and see if that does help moving forward. And then, as always, adjust as necessary. What works for one person may not work for the other. What works for Isaac may not work for me. So it's important to judge yourself based on your goals and what you're looking to get out of your exercise moving forward. So maybe you've been relying heavily on a program or diet that's not tailored to your body, or maybe you've always thought the best way to lose weight was to work out in that fat burning zone. Whatever it is, take a look at your current habits and determine if you need to make any changes at all moving forward.
Right. So upcoming events and opportunities to get involved with Healthier Together. Okay, so this challenge, the Skip Plastics Healthy Habit Challenge. This challenge is designed to help you with switching to more sustainable products and methods for creating a healthier planet and communities. Provided is the tip sheet and tip video, so be sure to add and track the healthy habit to earn reward points. Our monthly fitness challenge, the sit-up challenge. So this challenge has you completing a set number of sit-ups throughout each day. You can download that fillable challenge PDF and watch the demo video for sit-up variations throughout the month. And then next month, September 28th, 11 a.m. Central Time, communication is key to any successful relationship. This webinar will focus on the color personality training and how it applies within the workplace. You can download the invite there. Our Move Together 5K. So it's our third annual 5K. You can join your Medtronic colleagues in person or virtual September 21st or 22nd as we roll or walk on through. If you're interested In a training program, our team has created a 8-week training program suitable for beginners and intermediate level participants. It'll take you through the whole process up to race day and on to our weekly live offerings. As a reminder, we have daily opportunities to take a mental and physical break from work to distress and re-energize. Under each column, you'll find links to add invites to your calendar, from guided stretch sessions and meditations to fit breaks and live exercise classes. These are an excellent way to stay physically and mentally fit. And thank you once again for coming today. We really appreciate your attendance and feedback. We'd love to hear one takeaway that you have from today's webinar. As you do so, don't forget you can add Healthier Together points for attending. When you receive the recording of the slide deck, come back to this slide and click the link. Be sure, if you haven't already, to join our Yammer community for reminders and news of upcoming Healthier Together resources and events. Thank you again. And if you have any specific questions about today or anything else and want some extra guidance, just reach out to Anna, Kyle, or myself. And once again, thank you for coming, and we will see you all next month.
And if you have any questions, feel free to throw them out now.
Yeah.
I received a question about what part do supplements play in increasing metabolism? Neither Isaac or myself are registered dietitians, so unfortunately we cannot provide any guidance on supplements, but I encourage you to reach out to a dietitian, your physician, and ask them about different supplements to increase metabolism if that's something that you're looking for. Sorry, that's not really an answer, but that's what we're allowed to provide. Yes, love the idea of picking one thing to make a change. Very correct. All right, if you have any other questions, you can contact us individually. Ask them now. Otherwise, we hope you have a fabulous rest of your day, and we'll see you next month.
Thank you.
I just shared the link to our YouTube channel in the chat if you needed that.
There you go.
All right, thank you, everybody.